I start with a 19 by 13 inch frame that I picked up at a garage sale. I flip it over and I take the backing off and I take the glass out. Then I take it out to the garage and I spray it with a green spray paint. And after that's dried, I flip it over and I put Elmer's glue around the perimeter of the back of the frame where the glass would sit. I replace the glass and then I put Elmer's glue around the perimeter one more time. This serves two purposes. It helps to hold the glass in place and it helps to prevent resin leaks when you put resin on the other side. When you do use resin on the other side, that is what permanently adheres the glass to the frame. If you don't plan on using resin, you might want to consider using something stronger to adhere the glass to the frame. This can take overnight to dry and sometimes up to 24 hours depending on how much glue you use. And then I took painter's tape after it was dry and put it around the perimeter of the back just as an extra precaution against resin leaks. Next, I took this clear glass vase, and this is a fairly thick glass vase. And it has a rim on it that I really don't want to use for the project, so I just went ahead and took that off and then continued nipping around the perimeter in the same manner. And these are the pieces that I'm going to be using for the project. So this is what the pieces of glass look like when you nip them like this around the perimeter. And these pieces of glass will stand up on their own. All three of them, as you can see, are going to stand up on their own. But we want them more on a slant. So if you have it like this, they're standing up more. And then if you flip them the other way, they're more on a slant. But sometimes we need them even more on a slant. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the nippers and I'm just nipping off those edges there that are keeping it from laying flatter. And you can see now, you can see more of the top of the piece of glass when you nip off the edges. And see, the other way it stands up straight. And for the Christmas tree, we want it more at a slant, just like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and do it to the next one too. And you'll see this one, you'll see more of the top of the glass also. So that's how we want it for the Christmas tree, so that you can see the top of the glass. So I just went around and nipped all the way to the very bottom of the vase. And what I usually do is use the entire vase, but if you know about how much glass you're going to need, you can just nip until you've gotten enough glass and then set the vase aside. But I usually just nip up the whole thing and then I keep the bottom of it for something else. It would make a nice sunshine if you sprayed it yellow. And then I took the barrel to the 3-pound tumbler, opened it up, and dumped all the glass inside. I just covered the top with water. And then I put a squirt of Dawn dish liquid in it. And all the Dawn dish liquid does is cleans the glass. It doesn't do anything to get the sharp edges off. What gets the sharp edges off is actually tumbling it. You need to tumble it for 1 to 2 hours, depending how sharp it is. The thinner the glass, the sharper it is, the longer it takes. After it's tumbled for 2 hours, I go ahead and I rinse it off, and then I dump it out on a towel to dry, and then it's no longer sharp. It is so easy to do. If you sell your glass art, you don't have to worry about your customers cutting themselves or you cutting yourself. Then I took it all and I placed it upside down, so the curved side down, and I'm going to spray this with the TAMIYA Pearl White spray paint. And when you spray your glass, you only have to spray one side. And at the end of this video, I'm going to talk about alternatives to the TAMIYA spray paint, because I think you can get the same effect with some other spray paints. So I gave it a couple good coats and then I let it dry for a couple hours. And here I am ready to start my Christmas tree. And then I start assembling the Christmas tree, and I take the larger pieces and start at the bottom and keep them wider or more spread apart. And some of them I am actually nipping a little bit more so that they stand more the way that I want them. I want them to stand so that I can really see the front of them, not so that they're straight up. And when you do this, just be sure you nip the part that's going to be down. That way it'll prevent you from cutting yourself. Because we've already tumbled it to prevent us from cutting ourselves, so we don't want a sharp edge sticking up. And so I just continue going up, getting smaller and smaller toward the top and closer together. And after I've gotten it all the way up to the top, what I do is I start filling in the middle. So this whole process of putting the Christmas tree together right here is actually 24 minutes, and I have the video sped way up so that it's only a little over a minute. So you do kind of have to take your time and make sure you fill in all the areas and you know, you have a nice shape to your tree. Then here I'm just trying to figure out what to use for the tree trunk. I can't decide, and I'm just trying out a bunch of different pieces of jewelry. One of the things I look for at garage sales and thrift stores is old jewelry to use in my glass art projects. And at the end here I actually choose a part of a necklace, cut the string off of it and put that at the bottom for the trunk, and the top is actually a brooch from Temu. So now I'm ready for the resin. The resin I'm using for this project is Teexpert. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's actually a 2-to-1 ratio epoxy resin, which I don't use very often, but it's a real nice, thin, low bubble resin. Super, super easy to mix together. So after I've mixed my resin, I usually pour it over the glass, or I should say drizzle it over the glass first to make sure that's all coated. And then I go up and around the perimeter of the glass, pushing it up into the corners and along the edges to make sure that everything's covered. I always use a little toothpick to kind of shift glass around if I need to get sediment out of the resin. I use a kitchen torch to get rid of bubbles. And after I've finished a project, I always come back every 15 minutes to check for glass placement, to check to see if I see any more sediment. It's a good idea to get down eye level and look all around the project. I retorch if I need to for bubbles. This resin actually has a work time of 30 minutes. Its initial cure time is 8 to 10 hours. And final cure time is 24 to 48 hours. It has no VOCs. You can pour it to 1/8 inch at a time, and it cures best at temperatures between 70 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. I found it very easy to work with. Very, very few bubbles. And you can see here as I'm going, I'm adding some more pieces of glass here and there and going over it again with the kitchen torch. At the very bottom, I'm going to put some iridescent glass that I picked up at Michael's. So this glass is best off setting it in the resin instead of pouring resin over it, because it has a tendency to lose its iridescent qualities when you pour resin over it. Important that your project sits on a flat level surface. It's also important that you read the directions for the resin that you are using, because all resins are different. It's in your best interest to cover it with a dust cover when you're done. Next day, after the epoxy resin had set up overnight, I mixed Let's Resin, UV resin with Let's Resin, chameleon flakes, took a paintbrush and painted it on the white tree. I started from the bottom and moved my way up to the very top, just painting on over the glass. And when I was done painting it, I took the UV light and started at the top and slowly moved it down to the bottom, leaving it set for 3 minutes at a time. And it really turned out pretty. The chameleon flakes go a long way. You really only have to use a little bit mixed in with the UV resin. After that had set up overnight, I literally tried about 20 different ways to decorate this glass tree until I came up with a final decision. So then I decided I was going to use bells, and I decided I was going to use the Let's Resin UV bonding resin. So I went ahead and set up the little bells just how I wanted them, and these little bells are actually from the Dollar Tree. They're sold separate colors, $1.25 for the red, $1.25 for the green, or $1.25 for the silver. And I just take a little dot of the UV bonding resin and make sure that it's, when I drip it on, it touches the bell and the glass, and then I use the little UV light to bond it. And the UV bonding resin takes 3 to 5 seconds for it to bond. It's really easy to use.
Hey everyone, another pretty Christmas tree. So I really like the white Christmas tree. I think it's so pretty. You know, my aunt and uncle years ago used to have, I thought it was a white Christmas tree, and then it had a light on it, and I think the Christmas tree, I don't remember if the Christmas tree rotated or if the light rotated and it changed colors. I have to ask my cousin Sue, but I'll never forget that Christmas tree. Anyway, that's what this reminds me of. So anyway, this was done with the Pearl White Tamiya Pearl White spray paint, and I'm going to tell you that I don't think it's worth paying 12 bucks for this with the shipping, because so I think that when you're going to use these chameleon flakes, this kind of pearlizes it and makes it shimmer. So I think you could get away with using a regular white, which would be probably less expensive than the Tamiya, and you'd get a whole lot more. So I'm gonna actually try that on another tree soon and see what the difference is. And I mean, I really do like the pearl white. I think it's pretty. And if that's all you're going to use and not use chameleon flakes, I think it'll make a difference. But I really don't think it's necessary for this if you're going to use chameleon flakes. So this is what the pearl white, so this is the front of it. And I did not spray glass on the front. I put it on the back. And when you're spraying the glass, you really only need to put it on one side. It's not necessary. And it was easier to balance it flat on its back than like this, to be able to get good coverage on it. So anyway, that's real pretty. And in this, I want to show you up close, how pretty those chameleon flakes are on that glass. Isn't that pretty? I just love it. I just think it's so pretty. I think it's a game changer for glass, and you can paint it on after. You could mix it in with your resin and pour it over, but then you'd end up with the chameleon flakes all around it too, which could be pretty, I guess, but I wanted to confine it to the top of the tree. And listen, you can hear my jingle bells. So to hold the bells on there, I used a Let's Resin bonding resin. And the difference between Let's Resin bonding resin and Let's Resin UV resin, they're both a UV resin, but one, the bonding resin actually cures in 3 to 5 seconds, and UV resin, regular UV resin, is 3 to 5 minutes, which, I mean, it's not necessary. But what I really like about it is the little flashlight, because you can get under. But you can buy those little UV flashlights to get under stuff, because if I was to take the UV light and set it on top of it, it wouldn't be able to penetrate through the bell. You know, you need it to be able to be transparent to set the resin. But anyway, all in all, I think it turned out pretty. Oh, the glass at the very bottom. The glass at the bottom is glass from Michael's that comes out around different holidays. And I had actually got this on sale. The holiday glass, after a month or so, they start reducing the price. It goes down to like 40, 50, sometimes 70% off. So keep your eyes open. You can see what they have on sale by just going on the Michael's website also, and you can order it to pick up in line. You can actually search through your zip code to see who has the different glass in your area and pick it up. So that's a tip. Anyway, all in all, I think it turned out pretty. I hope you guys learned something new. I hope you enjoyed the project. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. That really helps the channel. If you enjoy the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Have the Facebook page going. An amazing group of people displaying beautiful artwork. A lot of holiday stuff now. Come join us there. And I hope you guys all have a great day. Thanks for watching.